If someone told you that only a few hours are left, what would you change? What would you do differently? The reason this question matters is because time is the one thing no one can buy more of. When we say only hours left, we are not talking about fear. We are talking about awareness. The awareness that you may have been sleeping with your eyes open. And now, finally, something is trying to wake you up. July 10 and 11 are not just random days on the calendar. They are not chosen because of the stars or because of some cosmic accident. These 2 days are simply a symbol, a doorway. And the question is, will you walk through it or will you stand outside waiting for permission? Too many people wait. They wait for better weather. They wait for the weekend. They wait to feel ready. But life doesn't wait. And the universe, when it wants to give you a message, doesn't scream. It whispers. If you're still, if you're clear, you hear it. If you're distracted, you miss it. July 10 and 11 are those whispers. They are the message, the signal. Call to look around and ask yourself, am I living with intention? Or am I just passing time? When you feel restless, when your chest feels tight, when you wake up and something feels different, that's not just anxiety. That's your internal compass asking you to pay attention. This feeling increases as you get closer to July 10. Why? Because your body knows, your mind knows. Even if your mouth says everything's fine, the deeper part of you knows something is coming. A shift, a choice, a change. And whether that becomes your breakthrough or your breakdown, that depends on what you do with it. The present moment holds power. Only if you enter it fully. If you treat these days like any other, they will pass like any other. But if you treat them like the last window before the door shuts, then you move with urgency. Not panic, urgency. There's a difference. Panic says, I'm afraid. Urgency says, I'm aware. The most disciplined people don't wait for deadlines. They move before they are forced. They feel the rhythm. They respect the timing. Many of you will feel something strange on July 10th. You'll wake up and sense a shift in energy. You might not have the words, but the feeling will be real. Some of you already feel it now. That's random. That's not random. That's your mind preparing for change. It's asking you, can you focus even when the world wants you distracted? Can you commit even when it's easier to delay? The truth is, nothing magical is going to happen that to you on July 10 or 11. But something powerful can happen within you if you choose to. That's the test. Can you treat an ordinary day like it's your turning point? Because all transformation begins in a single moment, a decision. And that decision doesn't come from outside. It doesn't come from luck. It comes from self-awareness. You must ask yourself, what do I need to let go of? What story am I still telling myself that keeps me small? What excuse am I still feeding, hoping it will grow into a solution? If you don't face it now, you'll carry it into the next week, into the next month, into the next year. July 10 and 11 offer you a clean break, a reset. But it's not automatic. You have to step into it with clarity. Sometimes the universe gives you a final signal, not because it wants to scare you, but because it wants to see if you're listening, not with your ears, with your discipline, with your awareness. Are you showing up differently today than you did yesterday? That's the real measurement of growth. That's how you know you're not stuck in a loop. What if the reason you've been feeling stuck is not because life is against you, but because you haven't fully entered the moment in front of you? If July 10 is not a warning, but a mirror, one last invitation to stop pretending that you have endless time to become who you were meant to be. You don't need a full plan. You don't need perfect conditions. You need to stop waiting. Growth doesn't ask for comfort. It asks for honesty. It asks for movement. The kind of movement that happens when you say, I'm done with the old story. I'm done being halfway in. Only hours left. That doesn't mean fear. It means the window is open, but it will close. the chance to become clearer, more disciplined, alive. It is here now. July 10 and the 11 are a test of presence, a test of self-leadership, and nobody can pass it for you. You already know what you need to do. The hard part isn't figuring it out. The hard part is doing it when nobody is watching, when it's not comfortable, when no one is clapping. But that's when the shift happens, quietly, internally, completely. So when July 10 arrives and July 11 follows, don't be surprised if everything changes. You've already been warned. But more than that, you've been invited. The rest is up to you. Before anything changes outside, it always starts from within. This is a simple truth that many people ignore. They wait for something to happen around them. They forget to listen to what's already happening inside. Right now, as July 10 and 11 get closer, many of you are feeling something. You can't fully explain it, but you know it's there. That uneasy feeling, that strange restlessness, that sense that something is about to shift. You're not imagining it. It's real and it's important. This feeling is not a mistake. It's not just stress. It's a signal. Your body and your mind are preparing for change before your life does. That's how real growth begins. Not with fireworks, but with quiet discomfort. Not with applause, but with tension. If you are feeling this tension right now, it means you're paying attention. It means something inside you is ready. The question is, then are you going to respond to it, or are you going to silence it like you've done before? July 10 and 11 are not just 2 days on a calendar. They are a mirror. They show you who you are when the noise fades. They show you how sensitive your inner system really is. The shift begins in your awareness, not in your results, not in your routines, in your awareness, that strange heaviness. That's your old self holding on, that unusual alertness. That's your new self trying to break through. Many of you are waiting for confirmation. You want someone to tell you that this feeling means something. You want someone to validate the strange pressure building up inside. So here it is. Yes, it means something. Yes, it is leading you somewhere. And no, you're not that broken. You're waking up slowly, naturally, the way all things do before they change form. On July 10, some people will brush off the day like any other. But those who have trained their mind will know today feels different. They'll know that inner awareness always precedes outer movement. You don't need proof. You need presence. You need to trust what your body is telling you, what your silence is showing you. Your intuition isn't noise, it's intelligence. Old version of you cannot survive what July 10 and 11 are bringing, not because of the date, but because of what it symbolizes. Moment you start to feel discomfort more than desire, you know you're entering a new layer of growth. It won't feel like inspiration. It won't feel like motivation. It'll feel like something is shifting and you don't know how to name it. That's how evolution works. Quiet, slow, invisible at first. The mind always knows before the world catches up. This is why some people feel tired before they even begin. They're not lazy. They're overloaded. Overloaded with suppressed growth, suppressed truth, suppressed clarity. If you've been feeling emotionally heavy, it's not weakness, it's weight. The weight of the person you are becoming pressing up against the person you've been pretending to be. On July 11, many will feel this pressure peak. They'll wake up and realize something can no longer continue. A habit, a lie, a delay. Whatever it is, the internal shift will become undeniable. That is not a punishment. That is a wake-up call. You're not being broken down. You're being broken open. The universe always sends a whisper before it sends a storm. July 10 is that whisper. July 11 is that final warning bell. But the lesson isn't to fear these days. The lesson is to pay attention. Your system is smarter than your schedule. If it's pulling you inward, it's because there is something inside you that needs your attention now, not later. You don't need to wait for chaos to change. You don't need to lose something to wake up. But if you keep ignoring the signals, life will eventually give you a louder lesson. This is your chance to choose the quiet way, the conscious way, the self-led way. July 10 and 11 are a chance to reset, not react. If your mind feels heavy, go into silence. If your heart feels tight, let go of control. If your habits feel off, simplify. This is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. The real transformation always begins when you finally slow down enough to feel what's really happening inside. Don't mistake noise for movement. And don't wait for pain to prove the point. If July 10 is giving you signals, follow them. July 11 brings clarity. Don't push it away. These feelings are your tools. These shifts are your path. The tension is not the enemy. Confusion is not failure. They are both part of the process. This is not a story about a magical date. It's a story about a powerful decision. And it begins with listening. Listen to what your mind is saying without words. Listen to the shift before the change. Growth doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like pause. Sometimes it looks like pressure, but pressure is how diamonds form, and discomfort is how the next version of you begins to surface. The next 48 hours are not for everyone. They are for the ones who are ready to move without needing proof. The ones who are tired of pretending they don't feel what they feel. The ones who have decided that waiting is no longer an option. If that's you, then this moment, this very second, is already the beginning. July 10 and 11 are not outside events. They are internal awakenings. Subtle, real, and now everyone waits for a breakthrough. But very few are truly prepared when it comes. People say they want change. They say they want something new, something better. But wanting is not the same as being ready. That's what July 10 and 11 are about. They are not rewards. They are not miracles. They are a test of readiness. They are a mirror reflecting your discipline, your focus, and your ability to act without excuses. Many times we wait for life to give us a sign, but we forget that signs mean nothing if you're not in a state to receive them. You can't see clearly if your mind is full of noise. You can't move with power if you're still unsure about your direction. When you hear only hours left, it's not a warning of something bad. It's a reminder that the time for preparation is not endless. The door doesn't stay open forever. July 10 and 11 are that door. It's not magic. It's a shift, a small opening where clarity is stronger than confusion, but only if you're tuned in. And if you miss it, it won't be because the moment wasn't there. It will be because you were distracted, lazy, or passive. This is not a message for everyone. This is for those who feel something building, for those who know that change is close, but still hesitate to step forward. A breakthrough doesn't show up with your favorite music playing and a calm breeze blowing. It doesn't wait for the perfect mindset or the perfect mood. It shows up when it wants. And the only question is, are you in a position to respond, or will you flinch? July 10 will come with its silence. July 11 will follow with its intensity. And during those 48 hours, you'll feel the test. The test is simple. Can you act on what you know, not on what you feel? Can you stay calm when your emotions want to pull you in every direction? Can you stay present when the old patterns try to pull you back? That's where the real growth happens. In the middle of the resistance, in the space where no one is cheering you on, just you and your inner truth. Most people fail this test not because they're weak, because they never practiced, they never trained for it. They thought life would reward intention, but life rewards execution. Clarity without action is useless. Discipline without application is wasted. And timing without movement means nothing. You don't get to choose when the shift comes. You only get to choose how ready you are when it does. If July 10 is the sign, then your preparation must already be active. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Because that's how real change works. Quiet preparation followed by decisive action. If you've been waiting for something to change in your life, maybe the reason it hasn't is because you've been approaching it like a wish, not like a mission. Wishes don't move the needle. Discipline does. Maybe this is why July 10 feels so important to you right now, because deep down, you know this is not just another day. This is your checkpoint, your turning point, but only if you treat it like one. People talk about fate, destiny, divine timing, but they forget the most important element, readiness. Timing without readiness leads to regret. The window opens and then it closes. That's the rhythm. That's the lesson. So don't get caught standing still when it's your moment to move. On July 11, when the intensity increases, you'll feel it in your body. You'll feel it in the way your thoughts become louder, your distractions more tempting, and your resistance stronger. That's not a signal to stop. That's confirmation that you're close. When pressure rises, it means the breakthrough is near, but only the prepared will push through. Everyone else will go back to sleep. This moment you are in, it's not random. There's a reason this video found you, and you are not the mind. There's a reason you've been feeling what you've been feeling, because your system is picking up something your logic hasn't explained yet. And maybe it doesn't need to be explained. Maybe it just needs to be followed with action, with clarity, with strength. Stop thinking you need more information. You don't. You need execution. You need follow through. You need to take what you already know and act like it matters. Because it does. July 10 and 11 are not about getting something. They are about becoming someone who is no longer ruled by doubt, someone who doesn't wait for the perfect moment, someone who leads themselves. Only hours left. That doesn't mean panic. That means opportunity. That means the door is open, but not for long. And what you do inside these hours will echo long after they pass. This is how life works. It gives you a small window. It shows you a small light. And if you follow it, you find yourself in a completely different place. If you're serious about your growth, this is your window. If you've been asking for change, this is your time. And if you feel like you're not ready, good. That means you're awake. That means you know this matters. Now move. Before the moment becomes a memory, before the door closes, before the next time becomes too late. When things around you start moving faster, your mind will try to keep up. It will react. It will panic. It will seek answers. Real power doesn't come from reacting. Real power comes from stillness. And right now, as we approach July 10 and 11, the ones who will grow are not the loudest, not the busiest, but the most still. Stillness is not doing nothing. It is doing the most important thing, observing clearly, responding with intention, moving from strength, not noise. The world teaches you to stay busy, stay loud, stay ahead. But in key moments like this, when a shift is near, the one who is still sees what everyone else misses. July 10 will come, and many people will miss it. Not because it's invisible, but because they are distracted. They are too noisy inside. They think movement equals progress. They believe chaos means importance. But growth doesn't happen in noise. Transformation begins in silence. That uncomfortable silence you try to fill with scrolling, talking, overthinking. That silence is the doorway. If you truly want to shift, then July 10 and 11 are your test. Not to prove how fast you move, but how still you can become. Can you sit with yourself without trying to escape? Can you listen to your thoughts without reacting? Can you allow the discomfort to rise and pass without needing to control it? That is power. That is discipline. People talk about power like it's something external, money, status, speed. But internal power is different. It's calm under pressure. It's clarity in the middle of noise. It's not rushing when everyone else is running. When others are trying to make things happen on July 10, you step back, you breathe, you feel the moment fully. Because the truth is, stillness is what makes you sharp. Stillness is what light gives you vision, and vision is what moves you forward the right way. The reason many people struggle is because they don't know how to pause. They only know how to push. So when July 11 arrives, they will push even harder. They'll chase emotions. They'll try to force clarity. But force doesn't create truth. Pressure does not equal power unless you've trained your mind to handle it. That's what stillness trains you for. Feel pressure and not collapse. To feel emotion and not be controlled. This is why your practice matters now more than ever. Your ability to slow your breathing, to clear your space, to listen without judging, to move without rushing. If you master this, you won't need signs from the universe. You'll become your own sign. You'll become the signal for others because calm energy is contagious. Presence spreads, stillness leads. When July 10 starts, the energy will be intense. That's not a prediction, that's reality. You will feel it. The urge to react, the need to say something, the desire to fix, change, adjust. But in that very moment, pause, catch yourself, ask, is this reaction coming from clarity or confusion? Am I acting from strength or from habit? The people who grow on these days are not the ones with the most motivation. They're the ones who train themselves to pause, to reflect, to respond. This doesn't mean sitting still forever. It means you begin in stillness. You observe first, you move second. That order matters. When you move without seeing clearly, you repeat the same patterns. But when you watch closely, then act, you change direction. You don't need more noise. You don't need more advice. What you need is the courage to slow down, the courage to do nothing for a moment, that you can do the right thing after. The universe is not asking for performance. It's asking for presence. And July 10 and 11 are here to teach that. Stillness is not weak. It is the strongest force you can develop because the one who doesn't react immediately is the one who controls the outcome. People say, trust the timing, but trust doesn't happen in anxiety. It happens in stillness. It happens when you release the urge to control everything and instead tune in to what's already moving inside you. July 10 will challenge your pace. It will ask you to sit, to breathe, to let things unfold. July 11 will test your patience. It will tempt you to act too soon. But if you've trained your stillness, you won't fall into that trap. You'll wait, know when it's your time. And when you move, it will be powerful. Because you're not guessing. You're responding. That's the secret. That's the teaching. Stillness is not just sitting in silence. Stillness is learning how to be so clear inside that nothing on the outside can shake you. And that's the energy you need as these 2 days approach. You already know this. You felt it before. Those moments where everything felt aligned. Not because you were doing more, but because you were fully present. July 10 and 11 are offering that to you again. The difference now is whether you accept it. So stop running, stop overthinking, stop forcing things, start listening, start breathing, start trusting that this moment, this quiet, heavy, calm moment is exactly where your transformation begins, not later, not someday. Now, before anything big happens in your life, signs are always there. The problem is not the absence of signs. The problem is your attention. Most people miss the signals because they aren't sent, but because they're too distracted to see them. July 10 and 11 are not just important dates. They are the moment when the signs become too loud to ignore. Not because something external is happening, but because internally your system has already been alerting you for days, maybe even weeks. You've had the dreams. You've had the conversations that hit differently. You've had moments where you paused and felt like something is shifting. These are not coincidences. They are signals. Life doesn't change without preparation. The universe never sends breakthrough without warning. If you feel uneasy as these dates approach, that's your preparation. That's your inner system telling you get ready. You've asked for clarity. You've asked for growth. You've asked for peace. But these things don't appear out of thin air. They arrive through choices, through awareness, through action. And before they arrive, you are given a test, a moment of pressure, a moment of silence, a moment of still discomfort. That's what July 10 and 11 are. A test of whether or not you've been listening. Every time you felt stuck, confused, or restless in the past weeks, there was a reason. The mind doesn't create discomfort for no reason. It creates discomfort when change is near. But because you didn't know how to read the signs, you ignored them. Or worse, you numbed them. You ran to distractions, to routines, to anything that made you feel normal again. But normal wasn't working. That's why the signs started showing up more often, louder, closer. Now we are here, only hours away from July 10. And this time, signs are not subtle. You feel it in your body, in your chest, in your breath. You feel the shift coming. That is not fear. That is truth pressing on your awareness. It's telling you wake up. It's time. Yeah. Stop waiting for permission. Stop delaying the changes you already know you need to make. People wait for transformation, but ignore the preparation. The preparation doesn't look like big changes. It looks like small thoughts that won't leave, patterns that keep repeating, emotions that show up at the same time every day. This is the language of life. And if you haven't been fluent in it, July 10 will be your teacher. Signs don't show up to comfort you. They show up to challenge you. The truth is you already know what needs to change. But knowledge without movement is just memory, and you are not the minded, and movement only happens when you stop pretending you didn't see the signs. There's nothing new you need to learn right now. You need to respond to what you've already been shown. That same conversation, you can't forget. It was a sign. That strange energy when you walked into a certain place. It was a sign. That silence you keep feeling when you're alone. It's not emptiness. It's space being cleared for something new, but you have to let it happen. And that begins with taking the signs seriously. When July 11 arrives, many people will feel overwhelmed, not because something is wrong, but because their system is trying to adapt to something new. The signs were ignored too long, and now the energy has built up. But you can respond differently. You can use July 10 and 11 not as crisis, but as alignment, not as fear, but as fuel. You don't need to figure everything out. You just need to honor what you've already been shown, what you've already been feeling. The longer you delay, the more pressure you create. The more pressure you carry, harder it becomes to move forward clearly. This is how people get stuck, not from lack of knowledge, but from avoiding their own truth. Here is the truth. The signs are always first, always. Before the change comes the inner nudge. Before the breakthrough comes the quiet discomfort. Before you step into something new, something within you already whispers, it's time. You've been hearing that whisper. That's why this message makes sense to you. That's why you're still here, reading, thinking. So now what? What do you do with the signs? You act. You clean your space. You clear your mind. You sit in silence and let yourself feel it fully. You stop running. You stop delaying. You decide that July 10 and 11 are not just another pair of dates. They are your reset, your checkpoint, your shift. If something inside you has been pulling you in a new direction, honor it. Even if you don't understand it fully yet, the universe doesn't send signs based on your understanding. It sends them based on your readiness. And if you've seen the signs, that means you're ready. Stop waiting for another one. Stop waiting for another one. Stop doubting the ones you've already received. This is the teaching. The breakthrough begins the moment you admit you've already been told what to do. And now, it's time to do it. No more pretending. No more acting like the signs weren't real. They were. They are. July 10 is here. July 11 is coming. You are being asked to respond. Tomorrow, not later. Now, what you do in the next 48 hours will not disappear. It will echo. The actions you take now, thoughts you choose to follow, the habits you begin or end, all of them will leave a mark. July 10 and 11 are not ordinary days. They carry a different weight, not because time itself has changed, but because you have. You're aware now, you're alert, and awareness makes everything matter more. Most people think change happens in a big, dramatic moment, but real transformation is quiet. It starts in decisions no one sees, a choice to stop up complaining, a decision to finally commit, a moment of clarity where you stop lying to yourself. July 10 gives you that moment, and what you do with it sets the tone for everything that comes after. You might not feel it at first. You might tell yourself it's just another Wednesday. But somewhere inside, you know it's not. You've felt something building. You've been thinking more deeply. You've been seeing the same messages. You've felt more sensitive to energy, more restless in silence. That's not random. That's alignment preparing you. It's your internal system waking up before the external changes begin. July 11 is not a deadline. It's a doorway. But if you walk through it carrying the same doubts, same excuses, same patterns, you'll end up exactly where you've always been. Nothing changes until you decide that the way you've been living is no longer acceptable. That's the real shift, not a new technique, not a new goal, a new standard for yourself. In these next 2 days, you have a chance to set that standard, to speak differently, to breathe slower, to move with focus. Every small act of intention becomes a seed, a pattern, a rhythm. If you practice clarity now, you will carry clarity later. If you choose discipline now, it will stay with you in the weeks to come. That's how momentum works. It doesn't start with force. It starts with direction. But most people will miss this. They treat these days like any other. They'll sleepwalk through the signs. And in a few weeks, they'll wonder why nothing has changed. That's not bad luck. That's neglect. July 10 didn't fail them. They failed to meet it. This is why presence is so important now. You don't need to rush. You don't need to force anything. But you do need to be honest. You need to stop numbing yourself with distractions. You need to stop calling yourself confused when you're actually just avoiding clarity. The next 48 hours are not asking you to become a new person. They're asking you to become real with yourself, with your habits, with your direction. Whatever you decide now to rise or stay the same, to face your patterns or run from them, will stretch forward. This is the ripple effect. And it starts right now. If you've been waiting for a moment to take your life seriously, this is that moment. If you've been asking for a sign to shift, this is that sign. If you've been feeling like something has to change, this is that window, not tomorrow. Now, the energy of July 10, 11 is about alignment, not magic, not miracles. Alignment means that your thoughts, your actions, and your intentions begin to move in the same direction. That's when momentum builds. That's when life feels lighter. That's when you stop fighting yourself. But none of that happens without action. Thought alone will not save you. Wanting it badly is not enough. You have to move. And it has to be today. Not big movements, not impressive ones, just true ones. Clean your space, close the tab, breathe.